7 men's fashion brands that look expensive, but aren't. Most expensive looking clothing is just badly priced clothing with a famous logo. The trick is finding the brands that deliver the look without the inflated tag. Today, we are ranking 7 men's labels that punch far above their price. Starting with the cheapest of the lot. Number 7. Uniqlo. Uniqlo opens the ranking as the world's most successful argument that boring, on its own, is a luxury. Walk into any Uniqlo store and the lighting is white, the racks are uncluttered, the price tags are honest, and absolutely no one is trying to sell you a lifestyle. The clothes are designed to disappear into your wardrobe rather than announce themselves from across the room. That is precisely why they look more expensive than they cost. The Supima cotton tee retails between $20 and $30 and uses American-grown long staple cotton, the same fiber category that high-end labels like Sunspal and James Perse charge $90 for. Side by side, on a hanger, the difference is genuinely difficult to spot. The 100% extra fine merino crewneck sells for around $50 and uses the same Australian merino top that several Italian knitwear brands print onto a $300 sweater. The Cashmere program runs around $130, and while the gauge is lighter than a Loro Piana, the buyer who has touched both will not embarrass himself wearing the Uniqlo. The brand's collaborations with Jill Sander, Christophe Lemaire, and J.W. Anderson lifted the design ceiling without raising the floor. The Lemecut linen shirt at $50 looks indistinguishable from a Margaret Howell at $300. There is a running joke among menswear writers that you can spot the men who actually understand clothes because they wear Uniqlo to dinner with people who do not. The label inside is a tell only for the wearer. Everyone else just sees clean lines and good fabric. Parent Group Fast Retailing reports operating margins above 16%, which is the financial signature of a company making real money on real materials rather than on marketing. There is a story that gets told in menswear circles about a fashion editor who showed up to a Paris show in a Uniqlo merino crewneck and was complimented for it 3 times before lunch. None of the people complimenting her recognized the brand. They just recognized that the sweater fit, that the gauge was even, and that the color sat correctly against her skin. Quiet competence reads as quiet luxury, and Uniqlo has built an empire on that single principle. The next brand turns Uniqlo's volume model into a whole tailoring operation. Number 6. Spire & Mackay. Spire & Mackay is the worst-kept secret in North American tailoring. Run direct-to-consumer out of Toronto since 2011, the brand has quietly become the answer every honest menswear writer gives when someone asks where to buy a first real suit. The flagship Red Label half-canvas suit retails for $348 in pure worsted wool, with a half-canvas chest piece, lightly padded shoulders, classic notch lapels, and flat front trousers as standard. To put that figure in context, the same construction at a department store like Nordstrom typically starts at $899, and suit supplies directly comparable perennial line begins at $499. The wool is sourced from Italian mills, including options from Vittorio Barbari's Canonico and Reader on the core line, and the bench tailoring is verifiable on the inside of the jacket. Lift the lining at the lapel and you can actually see the floating canvas. The detail department store brands hide because most of them no longer include it. The trade-off is that you do not get a flagship boutique on Bond Street. You get a website, a single store outside Toronto, and a forum thread on Reddit where men in finance and law trade fit advice and post mirror selfies. There is something honest about that. The made-to-order program adds full canvas for an additional $150, which still leaves the total under $600 for a watch on the wrist of someone who knows what canvas means. The brand operates on the same logic as a good neighborhood Italian restaurant. The food is excellent, the lighting is fluorescent, the bill is half what it should be, and the only reason it is not always full is that the people who eat there do not want anyone else to know about it. Spire & Mackay is the suit equivalent. There is a recurring story in the menswear community of a groomsman buying a $348 Red Label for a wedding, planning to wear it once and donate it, and ending up wearing it to every interview, every funeral, every offer dinner for the next 8 years. The half canvas lasts. The fabric breaks in. The buyer eventually tells a friend, who tells a colleague, who tells someone at a bar, and the brand grows by the only marketing channel that has ever genuinely worked in tailoring. Word of mouth from the man wearing the suit. The fifth brand applies the same direct-to-consumer logic to the dress shirt. Number 5. Charles Tyrwhitt. Charles Tyrwhitt is what happens when a London tailor decides that the wholesale model is a tax on the customer and refuses to pay it. Founded in 1986 by Nicholas Wheeler while he was still at university, the brand has spent for decades undercutting German street pricing while using fabrics that come from the same English mills. A 2-ply cotton poplin shirt retails between $70 and $120, and the company runs for one promotions roughly 6 times a year that drop the effective per shirt price below $40. At that figure, the buyer is paying less than the cost of the shirting fabric alone at most luxury houses. Every product page lists the precise thread count, the fiber composition, and the cuff and collar style options, which is more disclosure than most $400 designer shirts offer. Construction includes a genuine split yoke, mother-of-pearl buttons across most ranges, and single needle stitching on the premium lines. The collar interlining is fused on the entry tier and floating canvas on the upper tier, with the brand making both choices visible rather than hiding behind a generic claim. The fit options span 4 cuts, and the alteration allowance through the side seam is generous enough for a tailor to take in a full size without pulling the pattern out of balance. There is a recurring scene in the men's department of any high-end retailer where a customer holds a $295 designer shirt next to a $40 Charles Tyrwhitt and cannot tell which is which without reading the label. That is the whole point. The shirt that looks like a Turnbull and Arthur is the one Nick Wheeler started selling out of his bedroom in Bristol 40 years ago. There is a particular kind of email Charles Tyrwhitt sends out roughly 6 times a year, and any man who has ever ordered from them has had the experience of opening it on a Tuesday morning and quietly committing to 4 shirts before his second cup of coffee. The brand has built a business on the principle that men do not actually want to think about shirts very often, and that the right time to sell them for at once is when the price collapses to the point of mathematical absurdity. Some businesses are built on inflation. This one is built on the refusal to play that game. The fourth brand is the Spanish answer to quiet luxury, and the markup is conspicuously absent. Number 4. Massimo Dutti. Massimo Dutti is the upmarket sibling within the Inditex group, the same Spanish parent company that owns Zara, Pull & Bear, and Bershka. The relationship is genuinely strange. Walk into a Massimo Dutti store on Bond Street or Madison Avenue and the experience reads as a small Italian boutique. Travertine floors, brass fittings, leather, and walnut throughout, the kind of attentive but unhurried service the brand spent considerable money to engineer. Then the price tags arrive and refuse to match the room. A wool Italian cashmere blend overcoat retails around $349, half what a similar blend at a department store carries. A 100% Egyptian cotton shirt sits at $79, lower than most American mid-market labels charge for an entirely cotton blend with synthetic content. The lambskin leather jacket, made in Spain rather than China, retails between $549 and $799 and uses the same Spanish tanneries that supply Loewe and Massimo Alba. None of the materials are reaching the absolute summit of luxury, but the gap between what the clothes look like on a hanger and what they cost at the till is among the widest in mainstream menswear. The brand achieves this through Inditex's vertically integrated supply chain, where fabric, cutting, and finishing run through company-owned facilities rather than third-party licensees. Marketing spend is also kept unusually low for a brand operating at this perceived tier, with no celebrity contracts and minimal print advertising. There is a moment most men remember the first time they walk out of a Massimo Dutti changing room wearing a navy blazer and look at the price ticket. The expression is roughly the same expression a tourist makes the first time they discover a real espresso in Italy costs €1. The fact that something this good is also this cheap is a small affront to your previous spending habits. The brand has a particular gift for the wool overcoat, the chukka boot, and the suede jacket, 3 categories where $100 in the wrong direction can turn a refined garment into a costume. Massimo Dutti rarely makes that mistake. There is a reason the brand is quietly worn by lawyers in Madrid, bankers in Milan, and editors in London, and the reason is that the math, on the inside of the coat, is not a math the rest of the high street has figured out how to replicate. The third brand is the Scandinavian answer to the same idea, with even less branding. Number 3. COS. COS stands for Collection of Style, and the abbreviation is the most aggressive marketing the brand has ever attempted. Owned by H&M but run as a deliberately quieter operation, COS opened in London in 2007 to occupy the space between high street and designer, and has spent the 17 years since refusing to drift in either direction. The clothes are minimalist, architectural, and almost militantly free of branding. There are no logos on the exterior of any garment. The labels are removable. A wool blend overcoat retails around $290. A merino crew neck runs between $89 and $129. A pair of pleated cotton trousers sits at $99. The fabrics are sourced largely from European mills, the cuts are revised on a multi-year cycle rather than a seasonal one, and the design language reads as a younger, more accessible Jill Sander rather than a fast fashion derivative. The trick of COS is that the clothes photograph and present like a $400 garment because the silhouette is unusual enough to look intentional. The wide leg trouser, the dropped shoulder coat, the oversized lapel, all of these details are running in step with what designer brands are showing on Paris runways at 4 times the price. Knockoff accusations have gone the other way around at this point, with smaller designer labels sometimes accused of cribbing from COS rather than the reverse. The trade-off is that the cuts are not for everyone. The shoulders run wide, the rises run high, and a man under 5'8" should book a tailor before he books anything from the catalogue. But for the buyer who fits the block, COS delivers the closest thing the high street has to genuine quiet luxury. There is a particular kind of architecture critic, gallery owner, or design editor who has been wearing COS exclusively since 2010 and refuses to confirm or deny it when asked. The brand has become the menswear equivalent of a quiet Helvetica typeface. Recognizable to the people who care, invisible to the people who do not, and exactly what the wearer wanted in the first place. The men in your office who suddenly look more expensive without having said anything about it have usually figured out COS without telling you. The second brand handles the one piece of every outfit that quietly tells the truth about your wardrobe. Number 2. Beckett Simonon. Beckett Simonon is a Colombian shoe brand founded in 2012 by Andres Nino and Nicolas Otodo, 2 men who looked at the $300 starting price for a serious dress shoe and decided the math did not work. The model is made to order. Every pair is constructed only after the customer commits, which eliminates inventory cost, warehouse cost, and the wholesale markup that doubles or triples the shelf price at a department store. The dress shoes retail between $199 and $249 in full-grain leather sourced from the Mastrotto Tannery in Italy, the same gold-rated supplier that Crockett & Jones and Chiene source from for shoes that retail above $500. Construction is Blake Stitch rather than Goodyear welt, which is a technical trade-off rather than a quality compromise. Blake stitched shoes are lighter, sit closer to the foot, and produce a sleeker profile that suits dress styles, while Goodyear welted shoes are heavier and better suited to boots and country wear. The shoes are handcrafted in Bogotá, Colombia, in a workshop the founders own, employing 32 artisans on 45-hour weeks with paid leave and pension provision. The catch is the weight. The made-to-order model means a 6 to 10 week lead time between order and delivery, which is a brutal ask in an Amazon Prime culture. But what arrives at the door is a Goodyear comparable shoe in dressier styling, made from a tannery whose hides feed the European mid-luxury market at 1/3 of the going rate.
Lined up next to an Allen Edmonds Park Avenue at $445, the difference comes down to country of construction and stitching method, both of which are matters of preference rather than quality. The man who buys Beckett Simonon walks out wearing the same leather Italian designers are using, with $200 left in his pocket, and a story about a shoe brand most people in the room have never heard of. There is a small genre of online review where a man unboxes his first Beckett Simonon pair after the 8-week wait, and the camera captures the same expression every time. The recognition that the shoe is genuinely better than what he was wearing the previous month at twice the price. The brand has built itself entirely on that one moment of recognition, repeated across thousands of men, none of whom required a Bond Street boutique to be convinced. The top of the list is the brand that combines every principle of the previous 6 into a single proposition.
Number 1. Suit Supply. Suit Supply takes the top spot because it manages to do the one thing the entire menswear industry has been trying and failing to do for 50 years. It makes a half-canvas Italian wool suit at department store prices and keeps it on the shelf in stock, in your size, in cuts that fit modern bodies. The brand was founded in Amsterdam in the year 2000 by Fokke de Jong, who reportedly started by selling suits out of a van outside European law firms during lunch hours, and has since grown to over 150 stores worldwide. The perennial half-canvas suit retails between $499 and $699, every model labeled clearly with its construction type before the buyer commits. The Italian wool is sourced from Vittorio Barbari's Canonico, Drago, and other named mills, with the mill name printed on the swing tag rather than buried in marketing copy. At the same price tier, most department store brands sell fully fused suits with no canvas at all, the construction equivalent of a microwave dinner sold as a home-cooked meal. The half-canvas Suit Supply outperforms those competitors so dramatically that side by side it almost looks dishonest. Drape, shoulder line, lapel roll, hem fall, all of them carry the visual signature of a $1,200 jacket because mechanically they are a $1,200 jacket sold without the wholesale markup. Suit Supply also runs an in-store made-to-measure program at $799, which is genuinely competitive with custom shops charging double. The brand stores are quietly engineered to feel more luxurious than the price suggests. Concrete floors, exposed steel, an espresso bar, tailors visible behind glass at the back of the showroom. There is a particular kind of mild disorientation a first-time customer experiences when they realize the navy half-canvas suit they just tried on costs less than a weekend at a mid-tier hotel. There is a scene that plays out in every Suit Supply store, every Saturday afternoon, where a man walks in skeptical and walks out with 2 suits, 4 shirts, 3 ties, and a confused expression about what just happened to his Saturday. The brand has built an empire on that conversion. Once a man understands what a half-canvas jacket actually feels like at this price, he stops shopping anywhere else for the next decade. The brand is the proof that the inflation in the men's tailoring market was always optional, and Suit Supply simply chose not to participate. So, across all 7 brands, one principle holds. Looking expensive has nothing to do with spending expensively. It has to do with where the money goes inside the garment. The brands that earn the look at a fraction of the price are the ones that strip out the wholesale markup, the licensing royalty, the celebrity campaign, and the runway theater, and put the savings back into the cloth. The luxury market spent decades teaching men that the price tag was the proof. These 7 brands are the proof that it never was. Spend like a man who has done the homework. Not like one who has been sold a story.